welcome to Taking the Myth, your topical, skeptical discussion show. I'm Stephen Knight, and joining me is Iram Ramzan. Thank you, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm alright, thank you very much. It was the least offensive nickname you've ever given me.
I know, I feel like it's regressing.
One day you'll just call me by my name.
Not going to happen. So, how was your New Year's Eve?
It was very... I didn't party because I was just packing for my holiday the next day.
Huh. That's, that kind of went down a dead end, didn't it? I'm sorry I asked now. Well, as usual, I'm just going to let listeners know that if they hear any topics on the podcast they want to chip in about, they can do so by using the hashtag on Twitter, TTMyth. Not Titty Myth. TT Myth. It can be Titty Myth if you want. Why not? Why not? I'm all for gender equality, Iram, on this show.
Yeah, we're not discussing my titties, thank you very much.
What a great start. Yeah, so if you send any questions in, any comments about the episode, we'll get round to them and we'll probably read them out on another episode. Or not, depends on what mood we're in, I suppose.
Ever read them out.
Never. I wanted to start with something that's... I wasn't sure whether to talk about it, actually, because, I don't tend to talk about myself much or personal matters or things that are affecting me as an individual.
So me.
When I do these shows, I like to talk about the topics and the issues, but something quite bad happened to me leading up to Christmas, Iram, and I don't really know how to deal with it. I'm not taking to it well. I'm just going to tell you, Owen Jones unfollowed me on Twitter.
He was following you?
Yeah. Me and Owen.
Why?
Besties. I think we had a bit of a bond over the whole Mo Ansar episode when Mo Ansar decided Owen Jones was an Islamophobic bigot.
Wow.
Owen Jones, Islamophobic bigot. That's amazing. It's like calling him a concise commentator. Nonsense. So he's unfollowed me, and I'm not sure what did it. I mean, I tried my hardest for the longest time, but he hung on. I went with a lot of left bashing, a lot of Islam bashing. I had a few pops at him personally, and he hung on, but I don't know what tipped it over the edge, but I've just, there's a hole in my life now, and I don't know what I'm going to fill it with.
Do you think it's when you called me Iram Ramzan?
It was before then.
Oh.
You probably reported that as a hate crime.
It was hate crime. Wow, okay. How are you feeling right now? Are you devastated? Do you remember where you were the day Owen Jones unfollowed you? Do you remember what you were doing? I don't want to think. I don't want to go back to that time, Iram. It's still a bit sensitive and sore, so we should probably just push forward. But Owen, if you ever listen to this, I miss you, man. Doors always open. Don't be a stranger. Hit that follow button. Hit that follow button, you little shit. First topic I wanted to speak about, something cheery. This actually happened a while back, December time. And this was the story of the Christian missionary. He was trying to convert a really reclusive tribe on a remote island to Christianity. You know how evangelical those guys are. And they didn't take kind to it. They sort of answered in the form of several arrows and killed the chap. And I was just wondering, what's your thoughts on the mentality of somebody who takes that risk in the name of the Lord? Are they trying to... do they genuinely believe they're doing something useful and valid? Are they completely deluded? Well, they must do, otherwise they wouldn't take that risk. A lot of these religions instill this sort of martyr complex in its followers. So, you'll do something that, say, somebody else wouldn't dream of doing because of the risks, whereas a person who follows a particular religion will do it because they think they're doing something in the name of God and that they'll get rewarded for it in the afterlife. But this guy, I can't remember his first name, something Chow, Michael?
John Allen Chow.
John Allen Chow, yeah. So,
as in John Allen, see you later.
Mm-hmm. He went to this island, which was sort of in the Indian Ocean, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a remote island, and it wasn't clear at first whether he was affiliated with any group or any agency, and it turns out he had received some sort of training from American
wasn't training to dodge arrows, was it?
No.
I mean, I know I'm making light of this, but I mean, aesthetically, this is the kind of story where you think tragedy plus time equals comedy. I mean, I appreciate he's a young 26-year-old man, and this is completely tragic, but come on, this is bizarre, isn't it? This is a very strange thing to get your head around.
It is, because there was a lot of backlash among some people, because they said that he seemed to approach the island with this cartoonish style of like missionary work and Western swagger, I guess, because in his diary, and his family have made parts of his diary public, and in that he wrote or attempted to befriend the islanders with offerings of scissors and safety pins. Oh, he just spoiled them so much. And by singing Christian worship songs.
Oh, fuck, that's what would have done it.
Yeah, I think that's what would have done it. You know, the Lord is my shepherd can get irritating after a while. So, I think that's what it was. And then obviously there are others who are saying that it's a typical white man's burden kind of thing.
They brought whiteness into it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Wonderful. Well, here's my take on evangelical preachers of the Christian flavour. I think they're slightly insincere, because the best thing they could do about the word of the Lord, if they genuinely believe that rejecting it is a one-way ticket to hell, is to just shut the fuck up. If they'd have
But they can't. They can't. They have to save the people, because it's all about saving humanity.
But that's my
point.
point.
In order to do that, you have to preach the word of the Lord to those people. But I see what you mean, because if you take the Lord's word and they reject it, then they can't plead ignorance.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So if they was to never find out about our Lord and Saviour Jay Chisel, then they would get a direct passage to heaven. You know, they know no better. They've not heard the word and then rejected it. They're completely oblivious to it. So why introduce that risk?
That's a good question. My thought was he was an idiot, but he's dead, so maybe that's being a bit unkind.
Yeah. It is tragic.
Leave them alone. Leave the natives alone. Let them, eat themselves up, because they're all about human sacrifice and stuff, obviously.
All right. What next? Well, I mean, this might, in terms of, this is something you've had experience with, and in terms of travelling to places where it could pose a risk to yourself, we had some horrible news about 2 Scandinavian tourists in Morocco, the details of which are extremely grisly, and I made the stupid mistake of watching some of the video footage.
Oh, no.
And I didn't watch all of it, but I watched enough, and even a little bit's too much, and I promised myself I wouldn't do this to myself, because I have done this before, and I never feel good about it. I never get anything from it. I couldn't sleep that night, and it's still, even though it happened a few weeks ago, I'll be walking somewhere, and it'll just pop in my head, and I'll kind of have a little shudder moment just thinking about it. It was that horrendous, and 2 young girls from Scandinavia. Were they Danish?
So one was from Denmark, and the other one was from Norway.
Okay, so they're backpacking around a mountainous region of Morocco. Seem like free spirits, quite progressive, carefree girls from what I can see from some of the social media posts. And a number of men of the ISIS persuasion dragged them out their tents in the middle of the night. There's reports of rape, and they beheaded them. And this was largely done on film, which was then circulated across known ISIS channels online and made itself, away onto Twitter and Facebook. And I suppose 2 questions here then. My first one for you would be, is there any utility in viewing this material? One, apart from the horrendous, traumatizing aspects to your person from watching it, but is it worth knowing who these people are, or is it a case of completely ignore it? I mean, somebody's got to watch these things. I'm sure people get paid to do it, in a sense, or investigating. And my second question is, how naive are girls like this to travel to places like that and think they're relatively safe?
Well, I think if you're watching the video to try and identify the people, or where it happened and what happened, if you're investigating the case, then yeah, you have to really watch the video. But I personally don't see the point of watching something like that, because I know what's going to be in the video.
Yeah.
I don't want the nightmares afterwards, like you said you had.
Yeah.
I don't want the, flashbacks or anything. Like, why would I even put myself through that?
Where was you before I watched this video? I needed a little Iram voice in my head to tell me off.
I need you to be like, oi,
yeah,
fucking put
what
it
you
down,
dickhead?
yeah.
What you doing, dickhead? This is going to lead to no funville.
Yeah. I just can't see the point.
No, you're right. I don't think I'll do it again.
No. Let that be a stark lesson to you. But in terms of these countries and are they safe? Well, Morocco, by and large, is deemed safe because it's a really popular tourist destination. I went myself earlier this month, and obviously I didn't get beheaded.
Bonus.
But
One for TripAdvisor, isn't it? Lovely and scenic. Managed to keep my noggin. 4 stars.
However, I will say, as men don't really, I think, appreciate just how difficult it can be for women, especially when we're traveling. There are certain areas that are such a no-go for a woman. Oh God, I just got leered at. Men just shouting dirty comments at me, quite openly as well. It was just horrible. I mean, Me Too needs to come to Morocco, is what I would say.
Gillette need to get right over there. But you know what would solve this problem, don't you? What your issue is there, and what could have prevented this whole episode of your abuse in Morocco? Male guardian, Iram.
Actually, no, a male guardian wouldn't help because I know women who have been with their boyfriends or husbands and that didn't stop them. Like, they're actually animals out there. Sorry if you're Moroccan and you're listening, but your men are your men are disgusting. They really are.
Hashtag not all. Hashtag not all.
Nearly all. I swear to God, nearly all of them, or as my friend said, so all the potent ones basically were just leering. I'm not even exaggerating. It was literally nearly every single man out there. They have no respect for women. You go out and, you're on the street and it just looks like a normal street. It's not like you're in a seedy alleyway. And outside the restaurants and the cafes, it's mostly full of men. And you go in the marketplace, the main Jamar, which is where the old souks are. And it's quite interesting to go there as a tourist and see the markets because they're really quite fun. But then at the same time, you just know, right, okay, I'm going to get harassed here. Someone's going to try and mug me. Someone's going to try and rip me off because I'm foreign. But mostly I'm a woman, so I'm going to get just really seedy glances and comments. And I don't know why men over there think it's acceptable to speak to women like that or treat women like that. Because these men, no doubt, are either married or they'll get married, and you can bet they won't let their own women go out to socialise or have fun because they'll be telling them, oh no, I know what the men are like. Yeah, because you're fucking one of them. You're a perv as well. And honestly, I'd absolutely had enough. I could not wait to get back because here at least getting laid at or having a dirty comment thrown at you is just not that common. Whereas over there, it was rare for someone to treat me with respect. Sorry, but, I don't care if anyone else is going to come around and say, oh no, I had a different experience. No, no. No, they are. Nearly all of them are. Sorry. But coming back to the point about these 2 women who went over there, I was told that they were on their own when they went camping. I don't know if you know otherwise.
Yeah, there was just the 2 of them, wasn't there? That's what I was led to believe. I've not read anything different, certainly.
See, I think if they'd been with a guide or with a group, then it would have been a different story, I think. But I just don't know why, as a woman going to that kind of country, you would take the risk of going on your own. But I guess maybe because at the same time Morocco's a popular tourist destination, they thought, no, we should be all right. There's going to be people around. They'll look out for us. But sadly, not. And they were just murdered in in such a horrific way. I really, really feel for their families.
Yeah, the details of the entire thing are horrific, so I don't particularly want to dwell on it. But it's just one of them tragic things. The world is a dangerous and scary place, and we're ever more connected now, where this kind of thing can happen, and before you know it, it's all over the internet as well. So we're basically seeing things that belong in the Iron Age on our 21st century supercomputer smartphones now, and it's just this strange juxtaposition between absolute barbarianism that belongs in a distant land in your pocket, intertwined with the internet and, you know, modern technology, and it's like a portal into the past, and it's crazy to think it's still part of the world in 21st century.
Yeah, I guess
some Dungeons and Dragons bullshit is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess we all seem to take for granted that in this country we've sort of moved on with our
Very few
lives.
I have to say.
Yeah, that's true. And so we sort of apply those standards everywhere else, that surely because we're so great here and it's modern here that everywhere else is going to be the same, but sadly not.
Well, another thing I wanted to speak about, and it's close to home for you and I, well, close to home to me before you became a massive traitor and moved down south.
It's language like that is what led to Brexit, Joe Cox and Anna Soubry and all that stuff.
All that stuff, you fascist. Yeah, so Manchester, Victoria Station, which is adjoined to the Manchester Arena, where 22 people tragically killed at an Ariana Grande gig a couple of years ago. Mostly young girls just seen a pop concert. Just sometime either on New Year's Eve or before New Year's Eve, a man in a frenzied attack with what looked like a kitchen knife from the footage I saw. This is an Asian-looking chap. Was just stabbing people randomly in the train station, the train station that happens to be adjoined to the Manchester Arena, the site of this Manchester's largest ever terrorist attack, I would say. And he was apprehended by the police. He was filmed on bystanders' video shouting about the caliphate and Allahu Akbar and, you know, the good stuff. And he was taken in. So this seemed on the face of it like an act of terrorism. However, it's since been revealed that he's been detained under the Mental Health Act, which doesn't surprise me. But I suppose my question is, and I think I've blogged about this before, is does mental health issues exempt you from ideological motivation? And by saying that it does, are we being unfair to people who struggle with mental health issues every day and don't get a bit stabby in the Manchester train station? Because it's almost like saying, oh well, they've got mental health issues, so we expect them to be violent, we expect them to stab strangers. So I'm just wondering, is it possible that ideological motivations and mental health issues can overlap?
Well, I remember reading about this case, and one of the reports, a source close to the investigation said that there's often an underlying mental health problem when someone commits anything of this kind. So, I mean, that's quite a sweeping comment. So anything to do with this, i.e. terrorism, it's all mental health. And I think we can't really say in this situation because we don't know. We don't know anything about this person yet. And I think sometimes they can overlap. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. Someone can have mental health issues, but then they can be doing something because of ideological reasons as well. And sometimes people are doing it purely because of ideological reasons. But I think it's true. Every time, sometimes when we do hear about these cases, people have, there are some people who are very quick to disassociate the act from the religion. They're like, oh, it's not the religion or the ideology that's made him do it. This person must have been mentally unwell. And you think, well, there are loads of people who have mental health problems and they don't go around doing stuff like this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm no medical expert, so I'm just going to sound off in ignorance, because why the hell not? It's what podcasts are for, isn't it? But I suppose the defining factor really is whether or not the suspect can explain why he did what he did. If he can do that coherently, it doesn't have to make... I mean, you don't have to empathise with his reasons or think that his reasons are just, but if he can say, I did it because A, B and C, that shows a presence of mind that would suggest to me that ideology is the bigger factor. I mean, in comparison, I don't know if you remember back in 2012, the Aurora shooting. It was more commonly known as the Dark Knight shooting. The Dark Knight Rises came out, and what was he called now? James Egan Holmes burst into a cinema and started shooting. I think 12 people were killed, and he can't even articulate why he did what he did. There's quite clearly nobody home. That quite clearly to me is not terrorism. It's
Oh, you're such an Islamophobe. Oh, no wonder Owen Jones unfollowed you.
There's this.
Why is it when a white guy does it, right, it's mental health problems, but when it's a Muslim, it's Islam?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this gives me a perfect
bigot.
This gives me a perfect opportunity to shout out to Damo, known as Concrete Milk on Twitter, an account well worth following. He did a write-up about this issue on his blog, because this is popular refrain, isn't it, that, oh, why is it that the white man doesn't get called a terrorist where the black man or the brown man does? And he did a really, really thorough analysis on his blog, and it turns out that's bollocks. People designate terrorism or not terrorism based on the political ideology in these books. So I'd go and check that out. It's on his blog somewhere. I might put a link to it in the show notes, because it's well worth the read.
Don't follow it, it's racist.
Yeah, racist Damo, if you're listening.
Concrete racist,
yeah. Concrete. I bet it's not chocolate milkshake, is it, Damo?
Oh yeah. Milk. Why milk? Oh,
why milk? Yeah. The staple calcium source of a white supremacist, if ever I heard it. That is actually a thing, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
that actually is a thing. All right. Yeah. Sorry, Damo. Great work on your blog. Sorry about that racist thing just then. Can you hear my cat scratching the carpet?
Your cat's objecting to it.
The thing is, she's treated like a princess, this cat, and she's not used to being shouted at. So when I shout at her, I bet she carries on doing it.
Spoiled little brat.
Stop. No shit's given. Give it a rest. All right.
Ooh, that did it.
So, I mean, mental illness, obviously, if somebody's suffering from severe mental illness and they've been unable to control themselves, or they're hearing voices, or there's something deeply, deeply problematic going on, obviously you can almost empathise with it a little bit. But I don't think that completely can always, should I say, exempt you from ideological motivation. I think you can have some mental health issues and have clear presence of mind in terms of what you believe and be responsible for your own actions. I might ask you to talk about something more positive, though. We basically stole one from Saudi Arabia. We've hooked one and brought them into the West and liberated them. Maybe you want to talk about, or is it Rahaf? I always get these names wrong.
It's Rahaf. No, it's Rahaf Mohammed.
Rahaf.
She's an 18-year-old woman. She travelled to Kuwait, and then she just, I think, was it in Thailand she went to?
Yes.
She went to Thailand, and she locked herself in a hotel room at the airport and just started telling her story on social media, and claimed that she had to escape her abusive family because they might kill her. And when she heard that her father had landed in Thailand to try and bring her back, she started tweeting about it, that it was worrying her and scaring her. And so obviously, social media just went crazy. I was in Morocco and I was being tweeted nonstop, but I couldn't really check because the internet was really bad out there. So I can't really talk much about the case as it was developing, but do you remember what happened as it was all unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, a passport was confiscated by the Thai authorities, and I think they almost seemed in cahoots with the Saudi authorities or her family at one point. It didn't look good for it. It looked like they was going to... I mean, the plan was to actually get her on a plane back to Saudi, and that's what they were trying. And I don't know if you've seen this girl, some of the videos when she's talking. There's something about this girl that in terms of... She's got a face where it's like, I will not be fucked with. I will get my own way kind of thing. And it's quite inspiring to see someone so young just proper dig the heels in and say, I just want my freedom. And is very smart using social media and very, very clever in the way that all these eyes were brought on it. A lot of journalists did a lot of good work in getting to her. I know the UN sent representatives at one point, and kind of there was this protective shield formed around her very quickly. It's so much so that one of the Saudi ambassadors said, why did you let her have a phone? This is the worst thing you could have done. As if, why are you letting this girl have a phone? He couldn't get his head around it. Why are you letting her tweet about it? So
why are you letting her be free?
What's wrong with you? So she's there was some talk about Australia granting her asylum for a while, but apparently the process was taking too long, and I think the feeling was the longer it took, the more risk she was at of being bundled on a plane back to Saudi. So, Canada stepped up, and she's now in the country.
So is Canada.
Where's Canada? It's an American state, isn't it? Oh, sorry.
I said it's always Canada.
All right, yeah. I mean, so this is fantastic news. This is amazing news, and I'm very happy about it. But my ethical head scratcher for this topic would be, I mean, your instinct is if there's a sort of secular pro-human rights oppressed, probably typically female or homosexual or someone like that, an oppressed class within Saudi that needs help, needs assistance, needs refugee status. I'm a bleeding heart liberal on this. I'm like, bring them over, But my serious question on the topic would be, if we sort of just take all the sensible people, how are places like Saudi and Pakistan and various other places that have deeply illiberal states and no gender equality whatsoever and no LGBT rights whatsoever and no religious freedom whatsoever, how are they ever going to reform if anyone there who is a reformer or a dissident has to leave? You have to leave because it's a death sentence.
Yeah, it's funny how you say that, because I was having this exact conversation with a friend of mine. My friend was saying the exact same thing. Like, if we need to help them, but then how do these places reform if we keep taking all their secular people? And I don't really know what you can do, but this woman apparently was in immediate danger.
Yeah.
And there's no way we could have said to her, just think of it this way. Just hang on. Yeah. All right, Joe. Just hang on.
Chin up, love. Chin up. Yeah. Obviously, the human cost is the priority, obviously, in any way you can help. I just think it's an interesting conundrum.
I think these places will always have secular activists sort of bubbling away.
Maybe underground. Not 6 feet under, hopefully.
Hopefully not. I just don't know what the answer to that is, because it's still really dangerous for some of these people. Like in Saudi Arabia, they still have their discriminatory male guardianship system, where obviously every woman needs to have a male guardian. It could be her father, brother, husband, or even her bloody son.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Your
insane.
son, who you fucking nappies you've changed, is in control of you. What the hell is that all about? And they've got the authority to make really important decisions over your behalf. So it's for like big things such as traveling outside the country or studying abroad. But it's even for sort of mundane things like having an operation. You need to get permission from your guardian. Exiting prison, apparently, you need your guardian to approve of that. And a lot has been said about King's, the Crown Prince Salman.
Some super liberal reformer if you read The Guardian.
Yeah. Yeah, people the thing is, when you repeat something so often in the news, it just becomes the truth. Like President Rouhani of Iran, he was called a reformer, and everyone just kept repeating, oh, he's a reformer, so you eventually believe that. Once you give something or someone a label, it just sticks. And he's apparently trying to make all these changes to the kingdom, because, oh, wow, they had a concert there once, and, yay, freedom, but not quite. And obviously there was the murder of the Saudi journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. It's
the audacity to do that in a Turkish embassy and think think they can
get
do
away
it.
with it.
And I mean,
Well,
they can and they have.
and they did.
Yeah.
And they got away with it. So, the other issue I had with this whole incident of Rahaf was when the BBC Asian Network decided to do the topic on it, and the tweet read, 18-year-old Rahaf Mohammed Al-Qunun fled Saudi Arabia as she said her family would kill her for choosing to leave Islam. Do you respect her decision?
First of all, excellent BBC voice. Love that. Yeah, secondly, that's absurd, isn't it? That's insane. That's an insane thing to ask.
Well, last year, I think it was last year or the year before, they asked what the correct punishment was for blasphemy, and you're like thinking, what?
Yeah, it's so retrograde.
I know they needed to have a discussion around it, don't get me wrong, but why did they need to phrase it like that? Why did they need to say what the correct punishment was for fucking blasphemy so people could come on and, practically incite violence? They could have said, do you think there should even be blasphemy laws in this day and age? Something a little less,
They did actually,
stupid.
they even pushed, even when they was more sensible than that, they actually rubbed me up the wrong way. They actually once asked, should the UK have a law against blasphemy? And even that, I think's like... I mean, it's almost like asking, should we rescind gay rights? It's like, what are you fucking talking about? How is this cutting edge finger on the pulse of ethical discussion, Should we reconsider? Should we reconsider child labour?
Vaccinations, yay or nay? But the thing is, I actually listened to that debate because at first I didn't want to because I thought it's just going to be fucking mental idiots on this show who are just going to go, but Islam equals peace and anyone who leaves it should be killed. It's very peaceful. But I actually listened to it and I don't think there was a person who was very, sorry, but if you leave Islam, there's a punishment. The first caller, a Muslim woman, she was actually really patronising and she was suggesting that Rahaf only left Islam because, she lives in Saudi Arabia and that's not true Islam and she was forced to do things that she didn't have to do. That's not Islam. So really, if she had been taught Islam properly, would she have left it? Okay. And then other people were saying, but there's no compulsion in religion, so she shouldn't be forced to do this or that, blah blah blah. And there was an imam on there who's just chatting nonsense. So it was just mostly full of people saying, but no compulsion, that usual no compulsion line, but they don't read what's after it. And I just thought to myself, at least there were people on there who were advocating, punishment for apostasy, but at the same time, it was very, very patronising towards her. And I saw this online later on Twitter as well, people suggesting that the only reason if you want to leave Islam is if you haven't been taught Islam properly, or if you've been forced to follow it, because... heaven forbid, people can actually think for themselves and use critical thinking skills to challenge what they've been taught, whether they've been taught it quote-unquote correctly or not.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to depress yourself, my suggestion would be go to any tweet that young girl sent in the last 24 hours. Just have a look at the Arabic responses and click on translate.
I didn't realise you read Arabic.
Yeah, just a little. To be honest, if I started learning Arabic, I would be on several watch lists. Given my other interests, just constantly Wikipedia on Islamic extremism, watching decapitation videos, and now learning Arabic. I think I've downloaded Dabiq as well. So it's not looking good for me. It's not looking good. So I mean, it's great news. It's had a positive resolution. It'll be interesting to see where she goes from here. Her English isn't great, so she's currently taking time. She said she's going to take time to learn English and have a private life and get settled. And then I think she's going to be an activist. I think she's going to be some sort of alpha Malala. If that makes sense.
She'll be at next year's conference.
Maybe. I forgot to say I sent her a message I sent her a private message on Twitter.
She told you to fuck off.
No, I didn't expect a response, but she actually replied to me.
She said fuck off.
No, I sent her a message. I put ASL ? No, I did not. I actually just said, I think you're amazing. Good luck to you in your new life. And she just put thank you so much and put a little love heart and a prayer symbol after it, which is lovely. It's nice of her to come back.
Ooh,
then I said, then I said, if you ever wanted to speak your mind freely on a friendly show, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Smiley face. And then guess what?
Blocked.
Fuck all. Nothing. Such,
I bet you got blocked.
such an ignorant cow.
Bet she blocked you because she's like, who the fuck
Who is this guy? Who is this?
Getting in my DMs.
Sliding in her DMs.
Hashtag me too. You slid in there. You slithered about. Trying to get this vulnerable young woman. Absolute filth.
Yeah, ashamed of myself. Well.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah, good luck to the girl. Good luck to her. So, what have we done? What haven't we done? Where are we? I suppose,
we didn't mention the secular conference.
We did not. So, you attended, I didn't. I had a family engagement that I couldn't get out of. But you were there on the ground, reporting. What did I miss?
So, this was the 2018... I was going to say 2017 then, oops. 2017 was fabulous because I hosted it.
You did. You did a wonderful job, might I add.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So 2018 secular conference in London, which was on November the 25th, which was also my auntie's birthday.
Who gives a fuck? What?
So there's been a conference at least once a year now for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years, organised by Mariam Namazi and One Law for All. And the aim is to get a wide range of speakers to talk about issues regarding secularism and religion. And the keynote address was by Saif al-Malouk, who was Asia Bibi's lawyer.
Yeah.
She's the Christian woman in Pakistan who was accused of blasphemy, was in jail for over 8 years, and then she was finally acquitted. But unfortunately, she's still in hiding because some absolute religious nut jobs are still trying to find her. So she's in hiding, and he is trying to he's still pursuing her case, really. He's trying to make the case to various European countries to do more to help her. So obviously he got standing ovation at the conference because of his role in her case, what he did.
Courageous man. I mean, you interviewed him in the Times, didn't you? I've had him on the podcast as well, and he was like, when we was trying to arrange it, I mean, 1 minute he's in London, next time I spoke to him he was in France, and then when I finally interviewed him, I think he was in the Netherlands. He's constantly bouncing around trying to advocate for human rights and draw more attention to this Asia Bibi case. So he's just a very, I mean, these people who are opinionated and have views who stand for secular liberal values and the kind of pro-human rights, but to do it in the context that he's done it in, especially where people previously who've stood up and put their head above the parapet have paid for it with their life. He's just an extraordinary man, and he's had to leave Pakistan as well now, hasn't he? He can't go back there.
Yeah, he can't go back. If you want to know more about it, I did do a piece for it in The Spectator, so it's still there.
In The Specky? Well,
In The Specker.
I don't know what Owen Jones would have to say about that.
Oh, I'm definitely a neo-Nazi now.
So basically it was Andrew Neil, was it, who put you up to this?
It was, yeah. And the Zionists, of course.
Of course.
So Saif al-Malouk, obviously, that went down very well. There was a film screening about the triple talaq divorce in India, which India has declared unconstitutional now. That is, under Islamic law, a man can say, I divorce you, or talaq, to a woman, to his wife, 3 times, and that means that's an instantaneous divorce. A woman obviously can't do the same thing because a woman has to go to a judge, and then a judge can rule whether she's allowed to get a divorce or not. And so that's left, so many women heartbroken and in terrible situations because a man has just divorced them and they've got no right of redress. But I think, was it last year, India banned it? I think it is being challenged now, if I'm not wrong. Obviously, the other topic that came up was Sharia councils. gender segregation and the veil. Yasmin Rahman, who's a Muslim secular activist, she said that when she was doing research into Sharia councils, Muslim women were being asked during divorce hearings by a panel of imams, when was the last time you had sex?
Oh.
And did your husband ejaculate? To determine if the woman was pregnant. And she was telling this story because there was a woman who took her daughter to a Sharia council to get a divorce, and as soon as they asked her that, she was like, "Get up, we're leaving," because she did not want to subject her daughter to that.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know it shouldn't be said, but I do applaud her for that, because there are other women who just endure it, or other women who'd make their daughters go through that, whereas this woman was like, "No, I'm not answering these ridiculous questions." So, and then Ahlam Akram, she's a British Arab activist, and she was just amazed at how many young schoolgirls she sees in London wearing headscarves. And then she said that there's a company in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. Apparently, they created dolls for girls, and there were two of the dolls have hijab on them. So what kind of message are they sending to little girls out there that even their toys need to be covered up? And then obviously we heard from other faiths as well. So Eve Sachs, who's from the Jewish community, she highlighted gender inequality in Orthodox Jewish communities. And she was just saying that in certain magazines that you get in those areas, the women are erased, like they're all blacked out.
Yeah. They did this to Merkel, didn't they, a while back in a Jewish publication, an Orthodox Jewish publication in Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they airbrushed out Angela Merkel.
Oh my God. Oh yes, I remember that. So it's like, it's not enough that you have to oppress women. You're literally trying to erase us.
There's a recurring thing that happens on aeroplanes with Orthodox Jews where they refuse to sit next to a woman, and they kick up such a fuss, and the air stewardesses end up moving the women in the end. They almost get penalised for this backwards little boy misogyny.
But you know what? I wouldn't be that bothered. I'd be like, well, yeah, I don't want to sit next to this odious little twat. Yeah.
I was sat next to an Orthodox Jewish guy on my flight. I had a transfer from...
to identify as a woman to piss him off?
No, I did not. But he would basically. Where was I? I landed in Newark, in the States, and I was transferring to Milwaukee back in September, and Milwaukee. And there was this Orthodox Jewish lad sat next to me, and for the entire flight, he did not look away from his scripture, and he was just reciting it over and over and over and over again in his head. And you know what I was thinking? Glad it's not the Quran. I mean, this brings us on to something else, actually. Well,
you're Islamophobia.
No, but there is a question to be raised about which public declarations of faith, depending on where you hear them, are more liable to cause anxiety or harm. There was a man fined, I can't remember where was he was fined for, the Allahu Akbar, God is greatest, upon bumping into one of his friends in the street, because people forget that phrase is a perfectly valid and integral declaration of faith.
Finding somebody for that is ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely. It goes against everything I believe in. But I mean, my question is, would you rather have somebody chanting from the Quran or from the Torah sat next to you on a plane?
Neither. I don't want anything being chanted next to me.
I'd take the Jew. I'd take the Jew. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to level with you. I'd take the Jew.
I wouldn't, because... you're going to call me anti-Semitic now, aren't you?
Yes. If I'm going down as an Islamophobe, I'm taking you with me as an anti-Semite.
Oh, no, because you're all right because you're a guy, but if I sat next to an Orthodox Jew, he would tell me to move or tell someone to tell me to move. Whereas at least if I sit next to an Orthodox Muslim, he's not going to do that. They just, they might look at you weirdly like, oh, look, a woman. But I've never come across an incident where a Muslim man said, oh, can you move because... you being near me is so offensive. I'm sorry, but that is fucking ridiculous. Why is it acceptable for certain people to come out with something like that? Oh, I can't sit next to a woman. Well, live in a cave then. Fucking hell! You're on a plane. What do you expect?
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Private plane if you don't want to sit next to a woman. Jesus Christ!
Thanks to technology, you are literally winning against the forces of gravity, and you're talking. You're espousing some antiquated concerns about sitting next to a woman.
Well, the thing is, like, because speaking of these outdated views, Sachs, I think she was also saying that. Because she talked about faith schools, and she said children in those schools need sex education the most, yet it's rabbis and imams who are lobbying against compulsory sex education. And she made a really good point, because, those children are, I think, a lot more vulnerable. I mean, children are vulnerable anyway, but those children are even more so, because their communities, especially the more orthodox ones, are trying to keep them isolated. And I remember reading a couple of days ago that a large number of Haredi Jews, the really orthodox ones, they're going to leave the country because they don't want their children to be subjected to such teachings.
Yeah, there's only so much filth you can take as a responsible parent, I suppose. Do you think it might be time to do the ASLANs?
Yeah.
Jingle time.
There's this misconception that people derive their values from their scriptures.
Who goes to hell?
Gays, fags, hundreds and hundreds of Jews.
You identify yourself as gay. Why do you then choose to be Muslim when it says explicitly in Judeo-Christian tradition that is prohibited?
There's this misconception that people derive their values from their scripture.
The ASLANs.
So the ASLAN is an award for an apologist spouting lies and nonsense. I have two contenders thinking about it now, and they're actually both companies in a sense. They're actually organisations rather than individuals. So one of them, they're both a bit of fun really this week. There's nothing to get particularly angry about, but it's stuff that got mainstream attention, so I think it's worth talking about. So the first one I'm going to bring to your attention is from the BBC News, and the headline from the 29th of November is "Boy's letter to dad in heaven receives reply from Royal Mail." So it's kind of like, did you ever used to do that as a kid? Did you ever used to send letters to Santa?
No.
No? Haram in your house, Santa?
Yeah.
He had a beard. He's practically one of you guys.
No.
No? Okay. So the stand first says, "A boy who sent a birthday card to his dad in heaven received a touching letter from the Royal Mail to say it had been delivered safely." So there's a young lad, he's lost his dad, he misses his dad, he doesn't quite comprehend what's going on here. It's a lot to take in for he's a very young lad from what I can see. How old was he? The article doesn't state his age. 10 years old. Oh no, wrong second. Young. I'd say he's under 10. So he's lost his dad and he's sent a letter, and the Royal Mail, someone with a big heart there, has responded. They've sent him a letter back, and the letter said, it's called JC, this guy. "Dear JC, while we've been delivering your post, we became aware of some concerns. So I wanted to take this opportunity to contact you about how we succeeded in the delivery of your letter to your dad in heaven. This was a difficult challenge, avoiding stars and other galactic objects en route to heaven. However, please be assured that this particular important item of mail has been delivered. Royal Mail's priority is to get our customers' mail delivered safely. I know how important your mail is to you. I will continue to do all I can to ensure delivery to heaven safely. Yours sincerely, Sean Milligan, Assistant Director from the Delivery Office Manager guy." So
Sean Milligan is lying to us. He did not deliver. Fuck off, because there's nothing and nowhere to deliver. You lied to that child. That child's gonna be scarred for life.
I was so ready to ease you into this conversation gently about,
No.
It's so nice, really. It's so, but yeah,
I'm fired up.
I agree with you.
I'm fired up talking about bloody Orthodox Jews being offended at women next to them on the planes.
Taking no shit. Yeah, so, I raised the question whether or not we could invoice Hitler via the Royal Mail now then. If we can send him to the good place, surely we can deliver to the bad place. So this is they're trying to comfort this lad and make him feel better, and I can understand the human the human temptation to do this. But that lad's going to grow up at one day, and he's going to become a thinking, conscientious adult, and he's going to come to the realisation that his letter never actually did get to Daddy. And I was wondering what sort of lasting effect could that have on somebody. Bear in mind, I don't think this is the biggest story in the world. I just think it's an interesting ethical conundrum.
He's going to need years of
Therapy, yeah.
Thank you, Royal Mail. No, I know, I can appreciate that it's, it was a nice thing to do, but I think they could have done it in a different way. Like I said, I don't know. Well, thank you for trying to send your letter, little Timmy, but
your dad's dead.
Possible.
Your dad's dead. And you need to get over it, Timmy.
Actually, just gonna say, they could have said something maybe a bit subtle, like, oh, we can't deliver it, but I'm sure wherever your daddy is, he knows you care. Something a bit vague.
Or they could have just said, I'm sorry.
Or they could have just ignored it. Throw it in the bin and ignore it.
They could have just said, I'm sorry you didn't attach the relevant postage. Heaven's quite a trek. And if you think you're getting away with that on a second-class stamp, Sonny Jim, think again. Life comes at you fast. Life lessons early on for him. Nothing's free. No, we jest. Yeah, I think it was one of them things where...
I can see the reasoning behind it, but... Yeah.
Probably no harm done.
How old was the kid?
I don't know this. I don't know, Iram. The BBC article didn't say, so I skimmed over it, and now you're bringing me back to it.
This is another reason why Owen Jones unfollowed you.
No preparation, no facts. Young.
Hashtag Owen was wrong.
I mean, he's sending letters to heaven, Iram. And probably no harm done. Another nominee for the ASLANs this week as well, which I'd like to bring up, which is currently embroiled in an online war of words, is Gillette, the razor company. Do you own a Mac 3, Iram?
I thought I was called Imak Ramzan.
Imak Ramzan.
It's not Imak anymore, by the way, which just shows how old you are.
Yeah, okay. So, Gillette. I mean, I've not used Gillette for years. I mean, I really, it's far too expensive for one. And I discovered the world of double-edged safety blades, and it'll change your life, gentlemen. So have a look into it. But they released a new advertising campaign, and it's rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, and a lot of people are celebrating it. And it's kind of people have seen what a global impact this Me Too movement's had in terms of taking everyone's attention, taking headlines, taking column inches, discussion, things like that. I think people confuse that with popularity because it does tend to split people down the middle, especially men. And men just happen to be the target audience for Gillette. So they've ran with this really... I mean, if anything, whether you agree with the ideology...
Why are men the target audience? What about women who need to shave? What happened to inclusivity?
Yeah, but they always... I mean, it's the same company, isn't it? But they always go under the brand of Venus instead of Gillette, don't they, with the women's razors.
Hashtag women need to shave too.
So this new campaign now from Gillette is very preachy. I hate saying virtue signalling because it's overused, but this feels like that. If you wanted an example of virtue signalling, this is it. And it seems very overgeneral in terms of the way it approaches men. And I kind of think, it's a load of people on the screen, and it's showing clips on TV mentioning the Me Too movement, and it's cut into you hear toxic masculinity at one point, and it cuts to a boardroom and shows a man mansplaining or touching a woman inappropriately, and it's almost like, come on lads, it's time to change, buck your ideas up, we need to be better than this. And I'm thinking,
what does
fuck
that have
off.
to do with shaving?
Fuck off. One,
what does that have to do with shaving? I don't get it.
I don't need commercial products to preach to me how to behave. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Two,
oh God.
You're basically attacking your target demographic. You're basically saying, you're a bit shit, lads, buy our razors. That's basically the tagline.
Basically, everything has to be fucking woke now.
Yes. Why insert politics into everything? Identity politics.
Look, I don't want to think about politics when I'm fucking shaving my legs or whatever, right? I just want to shave. I don't want some sort of preachy message telling me how woke I need to be. I'm already awake. It's fine. Okay? Leave me alone. And that's not the job of adverts. It's not to preach at you. Adverts are better when they're a little bit more subtle.
Yeah.
Or just when they're just, when they hit you really hard.
Yes.
Not when they fucking smack you in the face with
so
a
on the
frying
nose.
pan.
So on the nose. This. I mean, there was that expression which I think is true. Get woke, go broke. And I think whenever a corporate or commercial entity tries to delve its toe into the dip its toe.
Get broke, get woke, go broke.
That's it. If you've listened this far and you've put up with our ranting, get woke, go broke is the hashtag.
But the thing is, I think this is part of a larger trend by groups or people to try and cater for tiny minorities, because a large majority of people, when they're buying these razors or whatever, don't give a fuck. And it's like I feel like that when programs when they try and remake certain programs or films, and they try to make them more hashtag quote unquote inclusive, or with a female lead.
Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Ocean's 50, whatever it was.
Yeah. Or Hamlet at the Globe. They had a female lead, and they also had a deaf person in that because, we want to be inclusive, but it was fucking shit. You want to make something that's woke or diverse, write a new thing.
Yeah.
But usually they don't go down well. And I find the same thing with, and I bet you disagree with me on this, like with vegan products or vegan food on the menu. Everything has to be vegan friendly now. And you think less than, like, about 500,000 people identify as vegan or have a vegan diet. And yet every fucking paper you open out or magazine, it'll be like, these are the vegan recipes you need to try. This is the vegan blah, blah, blah you need to try. How many people are vegan? Not many. So why are we dedicating so much time to a tiny minority? It's the same with this Gillette advert. Like, how many people really want to have this whole Me Too thing and this type of issue rubbed in their faces because a bunch of woke 19-year-olds like it? Well, they're probably not old enough to shave anyway, so who cares?
Well, I would agree with you on the vegan point. Typically, but I don't think I think it's not cynical in the way you think it is. They're not pandering to some progressive wokeness. They're actually pandering to wallets. It's worth billions, millions, should I say?
Is it really worth millions?
Yeah, they wouldn't have it on menus otherwise.
No,
they're going to follow the market.
I disagree. I think there's a market. Don't get me wrong, but how big a market is it really? Like
massive, and it's just growing. And a lot of people who aren't vegan see it as a healthy alternative as well. So these people who are not vegan, but they're on a diet, so they'll take the vegan.
You get loads of these types of diets or fads coming.
Oh yeah,
now.
I don't think there's much.
What's the next one?
I'm not saying there's any substance to it, but that's one of the vegan food industry. I mean, just in the last 3 years in my local Tesco, I've seen the vegetarian and vegan food section triple in size in terms of product.
There's more Muslims than there are vegetarians. I wonder how big the halal meat market is, but there'll be an uproar if people try and pander to that.
Well, no, the halal meat market is the dominant market. Everything's halal. It's very rare that it isn't halal now, which is a problem.
What?
Yeah, everything's halal. Yeah, I think
another hashtag. Everything's halal.
That's why there's big pushes from like the National Secular Society and people like to get labelled food so you can make a conscious choice. But everything's halal. I think schools, prisons.
Yeah.
I mean that's just trying to run so we don't run the risk of offending a very small minority.
It's like I think the new series of House of Cards. Is it series 6 now? Or is it series 5? I've watched one episode. It's shit. I tried watching the second one. It was dull.
Of the new series, or did you start from the beginning? What do you mean?
No, it's the new series.
Yeah, the new series is shite. I've tried it. And I like Robin Wright.
No, I like her, but the thing is, I know Kevin Spacey is controversial right now because of all these allegations, and I think he's on trial now.
Yeah, he's been in court. Yeah. Do you see that creepy video he made and released?
Oh my god!
weird, that, wasn't it?
I didn't watch it, but I read about it, and it was really, what the hell?
You know, it was really a quick point.
You really do need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah, a quick point before you make your point. I noticed the other day I've got, I really love the movie Seven. Brad Pitt.
Yeah. I love that too.
Kevin Spacey in it as well. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, he's a very bad man. But I have a T-shirt where he's on the front of it, and he's got his hands out, and he's got blood all over his hands. It's when he turns up to the police station and starts shouting "detective," and it's got the numbers of the 7 deadly sins on it. It's a nice little design, and I used to wear it all the time, this T-shirt, and I can't wear it now because it's Kevin Spacey. And it came to me the other day. I thought, what's really funny about this? It wasn't controversial when it just depicted a fictional rapist, murderer, an all-round villain. But now it's because it's associated with Kevin Spacey. I can't wear. Now it's beyond the pale. I can't wear it anymore.
Did you use it to line the kitty litter tray?
No, I probably just use it then, lounging around the house. I've got people buy me. I'm not one of these people that wears like atheist T-shirts, with atheist slogans on, or Darwin shirts. But people buy me a lot of them, like as presents, which is lovely and nice. But I never go out the house in them. You must.
No, why do you get presents? Where are my fucking presents?
Do you not have T-shirts and things that you only wear in the house?
Yeah, but you said they were presents. Where are my presents?
I'm just universally loved, Iram. It's just
who are these presents from?
The Jews. The Jews.
Oh, is that for stealing your shoes?
Basically, yeah. It's payment for the shoe theft. Been engaged.
So what I was trying to say was that
House of Cards.
It's really shit now. I don't know if it's because they've changed the script writers or something, but there's no Kevin Spacey in it, and Robin Wright can't carry off that role on her own because they were like a team.
The dynamic made it, didn't it? And
they were like, oh, we have to make her the president because we need a female president. And I think she ends up being pregnant in it as well because, oh, yeah, single mum president. And I was like, for fuck's sake, why can these TV script writers, can they not just make a decent show without trying to be consciously woke? Because when you do it so consciously, it doesn't work out. It's like all these other TV shows or movies that people try to remake to make it more inclusive and diverse, and they just never work. And I think it's just like a larger trend from companies to try and pander to people that aren't even in a large group. Like, how many people, say, outside London give a shit about these things? It's when it's too on the nose. Not that many. I mean, things you would expect gay people, non-white people, women, single mothers, you'd expect them to be in art and entertainment. It's when they say, here's the gay character, here's the single mum character. No, they should just be well-rounded. Here's a trans person. Yeah, here's a trans person. No, give us, three-dimensional characters that are interesting. And if they're trans, that's the way it is. If they're black, that's the way it is. It's when you make a point of it and think you're being progressive. It doesn't serve the medium. It doesn't serve these individuals either. I mean, I'm sick of them banging on about. They're talking as if empowered female characters are new to the last 5 years, and they've obviously never seen a film from the 80s when nobody gave a shit about identity politics. You had like Ellen Ripley, and you had Sarah Connor, thanks to James Cameron. George Romero was making strong female characters in the 70s and 80s in his horror movies. He didn't have the stereotypical screaming damsel in distress. He had people that you had Pullan Devi in India, the female bandit. Yeah, and the interesting thing about these. Yeah, I don't watch that shit. Jai ho, the fuck what? Yeah, but and the thing is, a lot of people make the mistake now when they think they need to write a strong female character, they just make him as some indestructible. They make him a man. They basically make him the action man. And it's patronising as well, because it's like, oh, let's make a strong female character, as opposed to what exactly? Why does the character need to be strong? And what do you mean by strong? Like, women and men as well, they have so many aspects to their characters. Vulnerability can be
interesting. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most interesting things about a character. If they're indestructible, that's why the Die Hard films got more ridiculous towards the end, because the first film, he's some man completely out of his depth. He gets, he's vulnerable, he gets beat to shit. But you come to like Die Hard 4 or 5, he's jumping over jet planes and he's basically Superman. And it's like, I've no investment.
Films got ridiculous because
it's nothing to do with him being a man.
That's why Bollywood films got ridiculous. That, the villain, the villain would be shooting the hero and he'd still be walking. Like, what the fuck? Are you Iron Man or something? How are you still walking after you've been shot? So, yeah, it's I don't know. I think all these, I used to have so many good programs and movies back in the day that I think, it's very rare that you come across a really good program or a really good movie now, because, the imagination isn't there, the writers aren't there. And if they want to make a point, they do it too on the nose. I think there's a piece written by, I think it was by Douglas Murray in Unheard. I'm not sure.
Fascist.
Yeah, obviously. And it was about the whole, the play about Brexit starring Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh yeah, it's a new film, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know how there was this. Was it it was something in the theatre, and he went to see the theatre or an opera, and there were like EU flags waving about, and somebody made the point about how art is not about entertainment anymore. When you're thinking, well, what is it about exactly? And it's not. I get that sometimes you want to put a message through it in your art, but people don't like being preached at. If you want to send a message, you do it in a more subtle and nuanced and entertaining way as well.
Yeah, some people, I do think art can convey a political message, but of
course it can.
If you're a writer or you're a filmmaker, your views and points are going to be informed by the zeitgeist, and the political ramifications of the political climate will bleed into your work on some level. But it's when, like you say, when it's too on the nose. I've been to see some
Poirot. Sorry to interrupt. It just came to me the new version of Poirot, and who was it? John Malkovich who played Poirot, and they decided not only to make it awful, his French accent was awful, but Poirot's coming out of the station and people are drawing Nazi signs and things like that, as a symbol of to show the parallels between the 1930s or 1940s Britain and today, because we're all fascists now, didn't you know? And you just think, why are you trying to, it's supposed to be a whodunit.
It doesn't age well. Doesn't age well either. Like, I've been to see some of my favourite bands, and they've been, in between songs, they've been like, fuck Theresa May, and it's like, alright, just play a tune. Pipe it down. It's like when everyone's chat. The most uncool thing I've ever seen in my lifetime was thousands of people chanting the name of Jeremy Corbyn at Glastonbury. How fucking rock and roll is that? Chanting the name of a bland old politician at a rock festival.
You're going to be pelted out.
How is that anti-establishment? How is that punk? How is that alternative? How is that in any way rebellious or brave? It's so establishment.
You've unleashed something now. You're going to have all these Corbynistas trying to pelt you with Greg's vegans.
I still haven't managed to get hold of one of them, by the way. I went three days in a row, and they were all sold out, and I've just give up now.
Outrageous.
Can't be asked. I think. Is there anything else you've got to add to this? I think we pretty much blazed for everything. This has been an outstanding return to 2019.
I don't think I insulted Owen Jones enough.
That's a good point. There's always more time to insult Owen Jones.
No, I think we mentioned
but
it.
What about the bankers? What about the bankers though?
What about let's talk about Spectator. Let's talk about the Spectator and how it defends neo-Nazis.
Did you see?
Anyway.
Sorry, go on.
Oh my god, yes, I watched him on This Week.
With Andrew Neil.
I love Portillo. I don't give a shit what people say. I love Michael Portillo, and he was just calm in the face of this little brat opposite him, the thing is, Owen at least before used to at least try and have a sensible debate, whereas now he just doesn't give a shit.
It's grandstanding, isn't it? He's definitely took it up to a different level, hasn't he? He's gone a step further than his usual obnoxious leftism. It's kind of like he's had a power up. It's kind of like he's jumped on a rogue mushroom, and it's had some Mario-esque effect. He's like.
Well, Andrew Neil asked him on the show, and I thought he made a really good point. He said, when the far right behaves appallingly, that's thuggery. But when the far left do it, that's activism. I don't understand the difference. And it's true. When the far left, or even the left, do something, they're voicing their opinion, they're exercising their democratic right. But where anyone who's not left anyone who's the opposition is now, it's not enough to say that they're right wing now. They have to be either far right or neo-Nazi, because you can't just call them right wing. You have to call them far right, because once that label sticks, that's it. I mean, maybe some of them might be far right, I don't know, but no one's willing to challenge that or even look into that label further. It's just, oh yeah, okay, fine, they're far right, that's it.
It's one of the rare good points I think I heard Jordan Peterson make. He asked, I was going to carry on doing the West. We all know when the right goes too far, eh? But how do we know when the far left goes too far? It's absurd. That's what he said. And he's right.
Oh, my ears hurt now.
Yeah, he's right though, isn't he? We all know when the right's gone too far, but, you know, when's it too far for the left? Where's the line?
So, but why is it bad to be, say, right wing? Why is that automatically seen as a bad thing? Whereas, if you're left, you're somehow more virtuous. You stand up for people's human rights. Whereas if you're right of centre, then you don't give a fuck about anyone, do you?
The quickest way to become a member of the right is to say, I believe very strongly in free speech and I'm not a big fan of Islam. That's it, basically. That's all you need.
You know what's funny? I can't remember when he wrote it, but not too long ago, Owen Jones said that gay people, LGBT people, should stand with Muslims.
Yeah.
And I don't know what made him write that. And so I'm just thinking, why do LGBT people need to be told who to stand with?
His argument was they're both an oppressed group. They both have to put up with bigotry. So, why not put up with it together?
But one group is largely hostile towards the other.
Yeah, the gays hate the Muslims. Oh, no, wait, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the fact that 0% of Muslims, when polled in this country, would say that homosexuality is acceptable. You're talking about the fact that over 50% of Muslims in this country, when polled, would say that homosexuality should be illegal. Bloody polls coming in here, taking our opinions.
That's why we fucking voted Brexit, right?
Yeah, get those polls out.
But I saw somebody tweeting about this because she was defending Owen Jones, as you do. And she was saying, but that poll, it's not reflective of this or that. And you think, so why is it the polls you cite are absolutely fine, but when they tell you something that you don't like, that they're not representative, that somehow the figures are skewed, blah, blah, blah. And she even admitted in the thread, actually, I know that homophobia is a problem among some Muslims. There are some issues there. Well, yeah. Why are you trying to deny it then? You just contradicted yourself.
I think maybe this is what made him unfollow me. I can't remember if he unfollowed me before or after this, but I replied to his message and suggested he might want to do a tour of some British mosque to see if they were willing to return the favour. But he didn't get back to me on that. But I mean, that's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, I've seen Peter Tatchell. Peter Tatchell's actually handed out flyers outside mosques and got exactly the kind of reaction you'd expect. People saying it's a sin and hostility, towards them and things like that. So I'm going back to polls. Like, if I'm going to form an opinion on something, what's the best way to try and do this rather than look at the statistics and the facts?
I ask my friends, right, because that is the most representative side.
My Muslim friend Asif's got no problem with the gays, therefore everything's fine. And it's like, let's look at something a bit broader than that, something a bit more detailed. So we know it's a problem.
My family let me go to university, so we're like so progressive, okay?
No.
Do the polls tell you that? No.
13 countries that have the death penalty for homosexuality.
They're not following Islam properly.
They're not for the true Islam. True Islam, brother. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
I think I've ranted away quite a bit there.
Yeah, this was a good 2 months that we needed to get off our chest. I think we've done well.
Oh my god. Yeah, honestly, it was so crazy last month. I just couldn't do anything.
Pretending you're busy. Talking of busy, tell the good people about Sedar and what they can find there. What sort of goodies wait in store for people who click that?
You can find like loads of great really good topical issues, mostly from writers of Muslim heritage, because some of the writers are ex-Muslims, some of them are still Muslim but very secular, and they see no problem with the other. So if you do want views from secular-minded people from that background, you can find them on sedar.org.
Superb, Iram. Thank you very much for joining me. Nailed it.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Godless Spellchecker podcast. The podcast is a one-man operation, produced in my spare time away from my day job, and I love making it for you. If you enjoy what you hear, please consider lending some support. The show is entirely listener supported. I don't sell anything, I don't run ads, and given the alternative and unpopular focus of my content, it's very unlikely to find a sponsor. So there are a number of ways you can support and chip in and help improve the show and give me more time to produce more content. You can become a patron supporter and pledge a monetary amount per month or per episode by visiting patreon.com/gspellchecker. If you can't lend monetary support right now, don't worry, there's other ways you can help the podcast too. You can share it on your various social media networks, or take a moment to leave a review wherever you listen to it. Your support is massively appreciated. Thank you. Think we've all learned something here today?